made him laugh and laugh. The ugly painting he bought for their apartment that she loved seeing on the living room wall. Rosie took the job at Bloom's Flower Shop on 22nd Street and 8th Avenue as soon as she moved to Manhattan, in part for the money, in part because she liked the idea of someone named Rosie working in a flower shop. But mostly she took the job so she could gain access to those loving forces. Like all of her other petty jobs, she would have to perform certain mundane tasks, this time arranging flowers, manning the register, and transcribing messages onto cards. But Rosie thought she might be able to keep this job for longer than the usual 6 weeks, because at Bloom's Flower Shop, she saw the greater meaning in her work. She saw herself facilitating love. She fantasized about the thousands of love stories of which she would witness the tiniest glimpse, as patron after patron would call her up and share a little piece of themselves. They would tell her about their girlfriend's favorite flower, their fiancé's favorite poem, how they wanted the perfect bouquet to show up at their wife's desk for her birthday, how they wanted the perfect arrangement to say happy anniversary, or to send something just because. She was so excited that she spent the entire Sunday before her first day of work practicing her calligraphy. Rosie wanted to ensure that each letter was original and ornate enough to reflect the beauty and originality of the love behind the note. She barely slept that first night with the anticipation of her access to the authentic, naked, unabashed voice of love. It was a voice she loved so much, even though it wasn't a part of her own life yet. But Rosie's heart broke the first week at Bloom's when, day after day, men called in requesting a dozen red roses be sent to their girlfriend or wife or lover with a card that simply read, "Love Jim," or "From Tom," or just "Harry." Didn't some women prefer hydrangeas or chrysanthemums or lilies? Wouldn't some of these flowers go to women who preferred pink or white or a mix of colors? Didn't men in love know these sorts of things about their lovers? Hadn't they wanted to fill that tiny card accompanying the arrangement with the kindest, truest, most perfect words? When you sent flowers to your wife, didn't you want it to mean, "This is the way I still feel when I look into your eyes"? When you loved someone, didn't you want to tell them in the most perfect, specific, unconcealed way? How did all of these men love women in the same 12 red roses and a "Love John" or "From Rob" or just plain "Colin" way? It broke Rosie's heart to think that love could ever, ever, ever be that banal. But Rosie was also not the type to sit around with a broken heart for long, especially when it threatened her world view. If the men of Manhattan could not express love properly, she would help them along. She would infuse their gestures with nuance and specificity, whether it was authentic or not. So Rosie took it upon herself to ensure that no card left Bloom's Flower Shop with a generically and heartbreakingly boring signature. She replaced all requests for dull notes with ones she deemed more appropriate for a gesture of love. "You looked beautiful last night. Love, Alex. I was just thinking about how charming you looked when you had that piece of food stuck in your teeth. Love, Ryan. I'm better with you around. Love, Charlie. I hope we hang out so many more times. Love, Ian." And she would smile wholly as she tied each card around a stem and sent it out the door. These were the love stories Rosie wanted to be a part of. Even if they weren't real, Rosie still believed them in some way to be true. For weeks and weeks, no one ever mentioned her love nudges. No one until Rex Thorpe called and requested that a dozen red roses be sent to his girlfriend at 934 Columbus Avenue. "And what would you like the card to say?" Rosie asked dully. Rosie had talked on the phone to this type with the Upper West Side girlfriend before. Brash, probably had a high-paying job, probably handsome, but also deeply jerky. Probably had a pretty girlfriend to whom he seldom said.